Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Sword. It feels a little weird. We got a lot of Braves talk, some Hawks talk. Pascal Siakam, is he coming to Atlanta? It kind of feels like that's getting close. But we're going to start off with what happened this weekend in Atlanta. The Braves finally lost a series after 11 straight series when they lose to the White Sox. Now, if you go back to their last series loss, it was against the Oakland A's. So their last two series losses have come against two of the worst teams in baseball. And the simplest thing I can say is that's baseball. That's going to happen occasionally throughout a 162 game series. I didn't want it to happen. I don't think anyone likes it. But then you got people already, we need starting pitching. We need starting pitching. This just proves that Colby Aller's not the guy. Listen, Colby Aller was never the guy. He's always a spot starter. They might put AJ Smith-Shawver in his place. That's what I'm expecting to happen moving forward. I would love to see AJ Smith-Shawver back into the mix. You still got Michael Soroka. We've yet to see him really take the next step and interest. Maybe he will. Max Fried made his second rehab appearance through three scoreless innings, 30 pitches. He'll be back up to 50, 60. I was kind of surprised he only threw 30 pitches, but that was apparently the plan all along. He looked really good. And they're going to ramp him up to 50, 60 next time out. He still has kind of an early August, I would say, designation for when he might return. I'm still not, the Braves need to get starting pitching. Listen, Spencer Strider had his worst outing in over a month. Like, that's going to happen occasionally. He's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. I never really believed in Colby Allard, so him struggling, not really that big of a surprise. I don't think much has changed from this series. I know when you lose a series, you want to switch things up. But as far as talking about trade deadline candidates and stuff like that, I still don't think starting pitching is an overwhelming need, desire, something that the Braves must get. If they do it, great. Maybe they go out and get a Lucas Giolito, a Jordan Montgomery, or something like that. I just think it's going to be expensive, and I don't think it's that necessary.
Yeah, it's going to be super expensive. And listen, if the Braves don't have Spencer Strider at his best or Max Fried healthy, it doesn't matter who they acquire at the deadline. The chances of winning a World Series go down severely. Like getting a frontline starter that is of that caliber is not going to be realistic at all at the trade deadline. You're trading for like a back of the rotation guy, and that's not going to be the thing that pushes you over the finish line. Like we need our guys to be at their absolute best. And I understand you want to, I get the precautionary nature because you can never have too much pitching, yada, yada, yada. But I agree with you so much. It's going to be so expensive. And if the Braves aren't right themselves, like if we see that Spencer Strider, Max Fried doesn't get all the way back, we never see Kyle Wright again this year, the chances of winning a World Series go down dramatically. It doesn't matter who they acquire at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, and when you talk about the guys that they targets, I mean, we briefly mentioned targets, but it's not going to be a superstar. They don't have the prospect capital to get a superstar. I don't even know if they have the prospect capital or they want to give up top prospects for some of these guys that we're even talking about. Even like a Lucas Giolito, like, yes, he's a good rental player, but do you want to give up a Vaughn Grissom or something? Like that's what you're going to have to give up to get him, maybe even more than that. Do you want to give up what little prospects that you have for a guy like Lucas Giolito for a rental who I don't even know what his role, if those guys like Max Fried and Spencer Strider pitch like we all hope, like you said, it's really more about what they do rather than anything that we're going to get at the trade deadline that's going to determine this team's ultimate success. So yes, getting a little insurance sounds nice, but I still think AJ Smith-Shawver is not bad insurance. Michael Soroka is not bad insurance. And when Max Fried comes back, you only need one of those guys to pitch decently, and you've got one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. And it could be a revolving door, but like not everyone has five good pitchers. There's very few teams that have five guys that are going out there and shoving every 5 days. Like not that many teams have it. So it's almost like overkill, like trying to get another really good starter to fill in your fifth role. Like when really you have to start be thinking really strictly about the playoffs, like the division and the number one seed in the National League, unless the Braves just go off the rails here, like they pretty much have that locked up. And I know I'm saying that in July, but that's not ridiculous. I mean, you're 8 games up on everybody, not just in the division, in the entire National League. So you got to start thinking about, we only need 4 really good starters for the playoffs. Now you got to think Spencer Strider and Max Fried, those are your 2 horses. Charlie Morton's been fantastic. He had another fantastic outing. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks. So you got 3 guys. And do you believe in Bryce Elder? I believe in Bryce Elder, especially as your 4th starter. So you got 4 really, really good guys right there. And the 5th guy come October doesn't really matter. So you really going out and spending prospects to get a 5th guy? It doesn't make that much sense, especially when I still am a believer in Michael Soroka. I'm still a believer in AJ Smith-Shawver and what they can potentially add even this year as a fifth starter. So I still don't think it's this big need or glaring need or really a need at all, as long as you still believe Max Fried is going to come back and be the guy he is. And he looked really good. I know it was only 3 innings and 30 pitches, but he got through 3 innings and 30 pitches. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest factor in all of this. It's what I just said. The Braves championship aspirations hinge on, there's a lot of moving parts, but just the rotation, they hinge on those two horses you got. Charlie Morton's going to be a vet. He's got more playoff experience than pretty much everybody on the pitching staff combined. It's about Max Fried and Spencer Strider. It's about those two horses getting right. We all expect Max Fried to return to what he was. Spencer Strider's had a few hiccups, but we all still believe in the talent. I mean, the stuff is still nasty.
I mean, outside
you're basically, you're addressing an area that is not an absolute dire need. And listen, I'm not against adding that, like addressing that. But the fact of the matter is, you said it, it's going to be so expensive. And are you really okay with parting ways with potentially Vaughn Grissom for a 1-year rental guy? Or other prospects. You don't want to I am a big proponent of going all in, but this kind of all in moves, getting that, it's a back of the rotation starter. It's not what's going to push this team over the top. It's going to be the bullpen. I mean, that's still the biggest problem, especially with AJ Minter going on the IL. It is by far and away the issue the Braves have to solve. I don't think it's the starting rotation. And I wouldn't be mad about a potential move, just depending on the value. Alex Anthopoulos is all about value. If he sees somewhere to upgrade, he's going to do it. But just the glaring need is still the bullpen. It has been, and now it's even more so.
If they're going to trade for anyone, people need to stop thinking Eduardo Rodriguez and studs like that, even if they are rentals. Even Lucas Giolito, I think, might be too hard for the Braves to acquire, given that it's a seller's market. And even though it's a rental, people are going to have to give up good prospects. I mean, he's an actual legitimate arm that could be a playoff arm. There's going to be a lot of teams in on him. Are the Braves going to meet that asking price for a rental when they don't really need it? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And we haven't even brought up Kyle Wright. I know we kind of don't talk about him as much because I've been pessimistic on him returning this season and providing anything. Anything he does provide is kind of icing on the cake. But he's still in the realm of possibilities of returning at some point this season and giving you something. So that's another arm you have to consider. And then if you're even thinking about guys with 2 years of control, dude, Michael Soroka, AJ Smith-Shawver, even Jared Schuster, Kyle Wright, all those guys are in your future plans still. So there's not really a need to get one up for more than 2 years. So anything you're getting, you're got to be thinking Jake Odorizzi here. And you saw how that ended up. It's not pretty. Tommy Malone, those are the guys that they could potentially add. And I never think that works. There's no point in really doing it. I'd rather just see Michael Soroka or AJ Smith-Shawver, especially when you have this big of a lead in the division, just try to figure it out. But speaking of the bullpen, AJ Minter does get down. That leads us into our next segment. We'll talk about that coming up after the break. The bullpen now down 4 of their top guys: Jesse Chavez, Dylan Lee, AJ Minter. Who just went down? I forget. I'm blanking. There's a fourth one. Too. There's a fourth one. I'm telling you, there's a fourth one. There's a fourth one. What is
Colby Allard did just go down, but it's not bullpen.
What is his? All right, I'm going to get it coming after the break. But who is the fourth? That's what we're going to talk about coming up after the break.